I know it's all bullshit. And I know how easy it is to get fooled. I'll never forget listening to Sophia say that. Sophia Stewart, the woman who wrote The Matrix and The Terminator.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And I was trying to apologize to her for what the world had done to her work to stop her message. And she said, they didn't do nothing to my work. She said, be sorry for what they've done to your minds. Because every day we believe the bullshit. Every day we believe the lies. And nobody wants to believe anybody that's telling the truth. Because they're so used to believing in the system, they can't trust anything else. What we're doing here is important. And we just getting started.
Just getting started.
Yeah.
Wait, I have to put mine back together. I took it apart.
If you took yours apart, don't worry. It still works. You just hold it together.
Okay.
Okay, so breathe in.
All right.
Okay, and then breathe out. Still doing it. Right, regulates your breathing. Now, you do a sort of, it's not quite an ujjayi breath, but in the back of your throat, you go. Can you guys do it? And then you breathe out. Okay, keep doing it, keep doing it.
With
keep
that in your mouth, you do that?
Yeah, just kind of like, ooh. Yeah, keep doing it. Breathe out. Do you guys feel a little bit better? Feel good? That's impossible. I made the whole thing up.
What?
I made the whole thing up, Ellen. The takeaway of this is do not put something in your mouth just because a celebrity tells you to.
I should be ready to threaten someone.
It's very helpful for people to hear that they should make themselves competent and dangerous and take their proper place in the world.
Competent and dangerous? Why dangerous?
Because it's the alternative to being weak. And weak is not good.
By dangerous, that implies I should be ready to threaten someone, to hurt somebody.
No, you should be capable of it. But that doesn't mean you should use it. Those who have swords and know how to use them but keep them sheathed will inherit the world. That's a way better way of thinking about it. There's nothing to you otherwise. Like if you're not a formidable force, there's no morality in your self-control. If you're incapable of violence, not being violent isn't a virtue. Capacity for danger and the capacity for control is what brings about the virtue. Otherwise you confuse weakness with moral virtue. I'm harmless, therefore I'm good. It's like, no, that isn't how it works. That isn't how it works at all. If you're harmless, you're just weak. And if you're weak, you're not going to be good. You can't be, because it takes strength to be good. It's very difficult to be good.
Doesn't control the world because nobody's that organized.
But did you ever see that Bohemian Grove thing? That is absolutely 100% real. No, it's not so what, Brian? It's people dressing up like wizards, burning an effigy in front of an owl god. It's people at the highest levels of banks. It's all these different famous people. There's a bunch of crazy, really rich, influential people that went to that Bohemian Grove and dressed up like druids and they chanted things. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah, I saw it.
You are.
Yeah, you haven't seen it. He hasn't seen it. He hasn't seen it.
I'm sorry.
He hasn't seen it.
Set us free. You shall burn me once again.
They're chanting crazy shit and they're putting hoods on and they're burning an effigy that's supposed to be a sacrificial person, but it's straw in a bundle. They talk about the owl god Moloch. Okay, these are multi-millionaires.
In advance. Corporation 2 World War II were planned long in advance. Corporation called United States after the change of the century coming into 1900s, I thought maybe we could expand the business, move the corporation out a little bit. Let's expand business. So they called it a hostile corporate takeover. We call it World War I. So the corporation called United States was able to overthrow the existing corporate order in Europe, but they went broke doing it. And then the bankers pulled their money out in 29. We had something called a stock market crash. So the international banker says, well, if you're broke, what are you coming to me for? I'm not going to loan you money if you're broke. What do you have as collateral? You got any collateral that you can put up for me to loan you the money? The British corporation called United States said, yes, we have the stock. We'll give you stock in the company. You are the stock in the corporation. So they give your body to the banks in Switzerland. So your body now becomes stock for the corporation called United States because you are a moneymaker. The United States corporation gave your body, your birth certificate, to the banks as collateral for the loan. And that's why today Americans are nothing but...
Always a mistake to assume just because people are privileged, they lack grit. And a dangerous game, I think, to make enemies left, right, and center.
Not if one is comfortable with having enemies.
Are you?
Oh, yes. Inspired by the words of the Chartist poet Charles Mackay. You have no enemies, you say. Alas, my friend, the boast is poor. He who is mingled in the fray of duty that the brave endure must have made foes. If you have none, small is the work that you have done. You've hit no traitor on the hip. You've dashed no cup from perjured lip. You've never turned the wrong to right. You've been a coward in the fight.
If you had one wish, what would you wish for?
1,000K.
Money.
Money.
Money to be rich.
$1 million.
$1,000,000,000,000.
$100. Billions and billions of dollars. Get a Lamborghini.
اهلا وسهلا. ايش اسمك؟
حور.
ايش نفسك يا حور؟
نفسي تخلص الحرب.
So, children who've never known peace have different values than children who've never known war.
Do you accept that Palestinians should have the same human rights as the rest of us?
Absolutely. All humans are equal in the eyes of God.
How can they do that? Okay, but here's the thing, Brigitte. But when it comes to this issue of occupation, I was very struck at the start of the response to October the 7th that very quickly Israel was able to turn on or off the tap of energy, the tap of water, the food supply, etc. That is only achievable if you are effectively occupying another country. Otherwise, you're not able to do it. So Israel has had this control over Gaza and the people that live there, which to me does not afford those people the same human rights as Israelis enjoy. It's inarguable because if they didn't have that control, they couldn't turn on and off the energy or the water supplies.
But why did Israel get to this point? Remember, in 2005, they gave them everything and they said, we are out. The Israelis even fought among themselves because, some people did not want to move
so don't get me
Gaza.
wrong. I think Hamas squandered all the money they were given, and Hamas has been the enemy of its own people. And when Hamas did what they did on October the 7th, they knew it was immediately sentencing to death thousands of their own people in the process. They knew that, right? So I think Hamas has got to go. I think Netanyahu has to go as well, and his right-wing headbang cabinet members who do speak in a genocidal way. None of this is ever going to lead to peace. But let me ask you, Brigitte, about Loki's claims about October the 7th. He says that there was this Hannibal directive. It's been much speculated. Haaretz says that they found evidence there was. The IDF has never admitted there was a Hannibal directive. But it is possible in the fog of war that day that I guess some of the casualties came because of Israeli fire. We don't know that. But Loki wants people to believe hundreds and hundreds of people who died that day on the Israeli side were killed by Israel.
I don't believe that. That has not proven. And if I have to choose between believing the Hamas talking point, who control the Ministry of Information, and the Israeli IDF, I would believe the IDF because I have lived in Israel as a Lebanese. At one point, I had a home in Lebanon, a home in Israel, and my boyfriend who lived in the West Bank at that time. And I worked as a journalist. And knowing how the IDF operates and knowing how the Israeli military operates, they operate by rules. They don't invent information like Hamas does. And when you are in the throes of things like what happened on October 7th, a lot of people do not know a lot of the facts that happened on the ground. But we do know one thing, that Hamas committed such atrocities, and we're so proud filming it and showing it that will give you goosebumps, that a lot of people can get sick, they cannot view it. And I'm shocked that Loki hasn't even viewed the footage. You have to view the footage to understand the monstrosity of the crimes that were committed on that day.
Yeah, I mean, I watched this BBC documentary which had all the footage from the music festival. And honestly, Loki, it was one of the most sickening 2 hours of my entire life.
Have you been on social media for the past year?
Yes, I have.
You have seen a constant stream of mutilated children. You have seen a constant stream of people being lifted up out
which
of
you're very
the rubble.
keen, which you're
how can you even bring into the conversation 2 hours of footage in comparison to 12 months and 77 years of this type of treatment?
So the deaths of
I have a question for the guest. I would like to ask this question. Now, the organization Act for America, which you represent and are a part of, seems to be quite the patriotic outfit. It's also been criticized widely as Islamophobic, but I have some questions about the finances of your organization. It's funded by the Fairbrook Foundation, which has funded the Central Fund of Israel, the Zionist Organization of America, and also illegal settlements in the West Bank. In addition to that, your organization, Act for America, has been funded by the Becker Foundation, which has funded Christians United for Israel and the Israel Project. In addition to that, your organization was also funded by the Emez Foundation, which funded the Israel Project, the Central Fund of Israel, and the Zionist Organization of America. How, in any way, do you stand for peace when the organization which you front and presumably are employed by is also funded by organizations that are invested in illegal settlement in the West Bank?
Actually, my organization, which I run and I'm the founder and chairman, I not only work for it, was founded after September 11th to protect America against the threat of radical Islamic terrorism.
It shares funders. It shares funders with those building illegal settlements in the West Bank.
You already spoke your mind. You already spoke your mind. Now it's my time to answer. My organization was founded to impact policy in the United States, to protect the United States from the threat of radical Islamic terrorism coming from Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Hezbollah, or whoever happened the terrorist organization are. We work with Muslims. We have Muslims on our...
Looking for investment ideas? Get inspired by investors worldwide on eToro.
Happened the terrorist organization are. We work with Muslims. We have Muslims on our board. We have Muslims who are members. We had every single conference we always had a keynote speaker who is Muslim that speaks because they care about America.
You know what? I feel like we're getting. Listen, I feel like we're getting.
Not let me finish.
Brigitte, I feel like we're getting a bit.
That you're talking
I feel
about,
like we're getting a bit.
The fun.
Look, fascinating though it is, the makeup of your business, it's not really the point of what this debate is, right?
Right. It's not the point exactly.
The point I would make, Brigitte, is this. I do think Loki has a good point about the settlements, right? What is going on in the West Bank with this rapid, aggressive expansion of settlements is completely outrageous. It's illegal. It's wrong. It shouldn't be happening. Why is it happening?
Sorry, you cut out. You mean the settlements in the West Bank?
Yeah, the expansion of settlements on the West Bank in the last year has been completely outrageous.
Well, look, there's a radical wing within Israel that wants to expand the settlements. And the settlements is an issue. I agree with you.
You're funded by the same people
who are very upset about
You're
the
funded
settlements.
by the same organizations.
What does this have to do with the funding with what we're talking about? They are Americans who support the funding of protecting the United States, not Israel. Our work is devoted to protecting the United States. Has
we
nothing
have the documents.
To do.
Let's
get back to the bigger picture.
Please.
So, Brigitte, do you condemn the expansion of the settlements in the last year on the West Bank?
Say that again?
Do you condemn the expansion of the settlements on the West Bank in the past year?
Yes, I do. I think they are going overboard with the settlement.
Okay, good.
I think somebody needs to revisit looking at the settlement and how they
Okay,
are
good.
expanding.
Then that's good. Loki, do you condemn what Hamas did on October the 7th?
I have a question for you.
Well, hang on.
Based on
You
what
stop
you just
asking
said about
questions for a
settlements.
minute.
I'll answer your question in a second.
She's made an admission that she condemns it.
No, she condemns the expansion
Loki,
of settlements.
Fine. Loki.
And these people also fund
Loki.
her.
At some point, you are going to... Loki, you are going to answer some of my questions.
Which I have done.
Okay, do you condemn what Hamas did?
You've already asked me that.
Not directly, you haven't answered.
I will not condemn people based on Israeli military talking points.
Okay, good.
But I have a question for you. I have a question for you.
You don't condemn mass murder?
Obviously, I condemn mass murder.
You won't condemn it by Hamas?
You're talking about a specific political context in which the information
No, I'm
is
talking
not
about
clear.
mass murder of people on October the 7th.
By the Israeli military.
You see, it's just absurd.
So I have a question for you.
I think you lose all credibility when you say that.
I have a question for you. I'm not concerned about whether you think or don't think I have credibility.
Because I don't come at this from supporting either over the other.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
Absolutely
Because I have
sure.
a question. I have a question.
What's your question?
Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah.
News Corp International.
Yeah.
Which employed you for several years.
Yes.
Which actually
It employs me
is
now.
Still, it employs you now.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting to the issue.
Yes.
Now.
What
News
do you think
Corp-
the issue is?
News-
I
I'll
saw what you
explain to
tweeted. What does it have to do with me?
Not my tweets. I have a question for you. News Corp International had a charitable arm which funded the Jerusalem Foundation, which builds illegal settlements.
What's this got to do with me?
Illegal settlements in
What's it got to do with
Jerusalem.
me?
Do you condemn Rupert Murdoch?
What's it got to do with me?
Do you condemn Rupert Murdoch?
I'm not talking about Rupert
do you,
Murdoch.
Do you condemn Rupert Murdoch?
I'm not talking about Rupert Murdoch.
This has never been shown on British media. This is a letter from Netanyahu's political office. And Bridget may well recognize the handwriting of Benjamin Netanyahu here. It is a list of individuals that Netanyahu considered to be funders of his political campaign. There is a name on this list. The name is Rupert Murdoch. Your employer.
You know what, Loki?
It seems he funded Benjamin Netanyahu. That's an issue.
You know what, Loki? It's not an issue for me.
It's an issue, and actually it's in the interest of objectivity
Understand one thing.
that you state it.
Rupert Murdoch can speak for himself. You've got a problem with him, take it up with him.
I do.
I can tell you categorically, he has never had a single conversation with me about anything I put on Piers Morgan Uncensored.
Sam Kiley resigned from the Times newspaper because of Murdoch's investments and bias towards
you have a
Israel.
problem,
This document, this letter,
you're a rapper,
clearly
right?
shows Benjamin Netanyahu noting Rupert Murdoch, considering him to be a funder of his political campaign.
You're a rapper, yeah?
That's an issue.
You're a rapper. You condemn P. Diddy?
Yes.
Great. You see how easy it is? You take it out of your obsession, which is that you hate Israel so much you can't condemn anything that people do to them?
We see the situation differently.
Not really.
My loyalty is to the people.
I agree with you a lot
my
more.
Loyalty
I
is to
agree with you a lot more than you realise.
I view myself as loyal to the people of the camps, to the people under the bombs. I do not view myself as loyal to somebody that would end up on a list of potential funders of Benjamin Netanyahu.
I like Rupert Murdoch enormously. I respect him enormously. And if you
won't condemn his funding of Murdoch, of Netanyahu, you won't condemn his funding of Netanyahu.
You don't condemn mass murder.
You don't condemn mass murder.
Oh, I do.
Condemn the Israeli military for mass murdering Israeli captives.
Had you bothered to watch this program for the last year, you would see I've regularly condemned them.
It's not condemnation.
No, but you don't think that what Hamas did was murder, do you? You think it's resistance?
I think the vast majority of humanity perceive asymmetrical warfare by developed militaries against... The vast majority of humanity are post-colonial subjects, Piers. They came out of decolonization. So their conception of these issues is just not the same as yours, unfortunately.
We will have to disagree, but that's fine.
No problem.
All right. It was good to meet you. Thank you for coming in. Brigitte, thank you very much indeed for joining me. I appreciate it too. And we'll move on. And listen, this story won't go away. Come back. We'll debate it again.
Thank you.
But remember, I agree with more than you think with what you say.
Okay.
All right? But at some point, you've got to have a little bit of something about you that says that some things that people do to Israel can also be wrong. You don't think so?
I mean, you're misrepresenting my
Am I?
Yeah.
Can you think of one thing people have done to Israel that's wrong?
I think giving it $8.7 billion in military aid after it's carried out a terrorist attack.
So no attack on Israel has ever been anything but justified?
I think Zionism as a project is unsustainable.
That's not my question.
It's unsustainable.
Can you think of one
it's
thing?
It's unsustainable.
Is there one thing that's been done to Israel that you think is wrong?
Not right now. I can't think of that.
And that's,
I'll let you know.
In its way, Loki, that's very illuminating.
No problem.
Good to see you. Thank you.
A poem for people pleasers. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I don't mean to impose, but if you have just a minute, could you listen to this poem? Don't worry, it won't offend anyone, and if it does, I'm already sorry. And here, while you listen, you can stand on my feet just to make sure I don't step on your toes. And if there's anything you don't like, please let me know. You see, I have many masks and I can easily mold. If you think I'm too loud, I can be quiet. If you think I'm too warm, I can be cold. If you think I'm too careful, I can be reckless. If you think I'm too mean, I can be nice. If you want it, I can be it. I can be what you like. I can be what you like. I don't know what I'm like. I don't know what I like. I don't know who I am. I'm not sure if I know the difference anymore between me and my masks. I can't take them off now. I've been wearing them for so long, and I'm afraid if I do, the person underneath will be gone. Who was I? Before I cared what you think, which mask looks the most like who I want to be?